On this episode of West Chicago Model Railroad, let's take a look at the Santa Fe LionChief Plus 2.0 060T tank engine. Hey folks, Matt here with West Chicago Model Railroad. Thanks for coming back to the channel. Today we got something special here to review. It's a little Santa Fe LionChief Plus 2.0 060T tank engine, number 95. Now these little engines were used in really small yards and ports and just kind of anywhere where, mills, anywhere where they needed something small to move cars around the yard, stuff like that. So, and I'm sure you can kind of guess by now that it's missing something that's normally seen on the back of steam engines, and that would be the tender, because there is no tender on these. I'll show the back when we get to the more of the details, but there's a little tiny kind of, I would say, alcove in the back where coal is stored, enough coal to let it run for how many hours it needs to do work around the yard. Again, this is for smaller yards and ports. It's not making any big trips. It's doing small, muscle work around the yard. All right, so here is the seen here is the Santa Fe version. Now, it was offered in other road names as well. There was a Bethlehem Steel, there was a Pennsylvania, there was a Rio Grande, and there was a Brooklyn Eastern District Terminal. Now, those four, along with the Santa Fe, you could buy as a single engine purchase. They also made some pretty cool sets. So these sets come with the steam engine and then a series of small little cars and little work cabooses and stuff like that. So there was a Granite Run Quarry set. There was an Easter Egg Express. There's a Christmas Candies, and there was a Polar Express Elf Work Train set. Now these engines are equipped with command control. So it has the new LionChief Plus 2.0 TMCC command control built in. But you can use the universal remote, that orange remote. You can use the Bluetooth app, the LionChief app. You can use voice control, so this supports the new voice control. And you can run it conventionally with a, standard conventional transformer. Or you can use like your TMCC or your Cab 1, Cab 2 remote. I'll be using a legacy remote today to show you all the features, so we'll go over that. But again, there are multitudes of ways to run this little engine around your railroad. So this comes with the new LionChief Plus 2.0 sound package. And what I mean by that is that you can access 5 different whistles, 5 different bells. It has a dispatch crew talk, so to speak. And then there's a radio chatter as well. There's a fan-driven smoke unit. Both front and rear couplers are electro couplers, so you can fire them right from your remote. Entire unit itself is all die-cast, so it may look small, but it is pretty hefty. There are crew figures as well, and there's actually a good amount of detail on this. So a little bit of history on the actual unit itself. This was offered before by Lionel, but it was only offered as a conventional engine, so there was no command control at all on it. So the tooling, I believe, is the same. It came with figures back then, electrocouplers, the same die-cast body, but obviously the electronics inside have been updated, as well as adding the command control feature. So now, what would you pay for something like this? Well, I can tell you that it'll probably surprise you. The retail MSRP on this is $249, and I can tell you that is ridiculously low for what you get on this engine. Granted, there's no tender on it, so, that cost is removed because, when you add a tender to something, that's additional die-cast piece of, equipment that's on it. There's electronics in that. So, you're adding an additional, piece to that train set. Whereas this, obviously removes the tender, So the price point on this little guy is just fantastic. For $250, you get a Team CC engine, fan-driven smoke unit, LionChief Plus 2.0 sound package, dual electrocouplers, front and rear, 5 whistles, 5 bells that you can switch between. You can run it on your Team CC Cab 1, Cab 2 remote. You can run it on your Bluetooth app. You can run it on the Universal Orange remote. You can run it conventionally. Like, how is this thing not literally right now, early 2021, this is your best bang for your buck little engine that you could buy. Like, without a doubt. You know what I mean? Like, if you're looking for something for, to get your kid, into trains, and you want something that he can start low, maybe using the remote or using the app, and then maybe graduate up to, a legacy remote or, a Cab 1, Cab 2, this is it. Because this thing will, is controllable by all of those items. Plus, you can use the new voice control as well. So this thing, there is so much value here in this thing. And plenty of other people have done some reviews on it, that I've watched online and stuff like that. But, everyone is pretty much saying that this thing is like definitely worth the money. Now, there is a minor little issue with them. We'll get to that a little bit later on when we go in for a, closer look at it. All right, so really quickly, let's just kind of go over the features on it. So, front end's pretty cool. Got a headlight here. Got actually numbers on the top headlight here and on the front boiler. There's these kind of like footsteps here down here, and there's like a little cut bar here too. Actually, let's see. Here got a smokestack here. Got a bell. Got a whistle. The Santa Fe here is nicely done. The gearing is nice. I mean, it's a little, it's 6, there's 6 drivers on this thing, so it's not going to be super complicated, rods and gearing, but I mean, it looks good for what it is. All right, so let's go down a little farther here. All right, so I mean, there's a lot of molded in detail, right? But I mean, for the price point on this, and for being LionChief Plus 2.0, I mean, there's a substantial amount of detail here that you wouldn't think would be on a engine that's $250. So let's be honest here. So, like a grab irons here. There's some ladder here to get into the cab. There's 2 figures on each side. There's no windows or anything, but, actually, there's like a little piece of that. The firebox is probably a little bit larger than it should be, but I mean, to fit all of those electronics in there, it mostly has to be. All right, and here's the back. Little cut bar here, rear coupler, and again, there's no tender. It's a little tank engine. So here's like, a coal load here sitting back, a little kind of reservoir. There is a rear backup light that turns on when it goes in reverse, and there's actually little numbers on the headlight too. So again, this thing has a lot of detail, and that's kind of why I'm putting it up there as like, best bang for your buck. If you're looking for something new to add to your layout and you want something inexpensive, can't go wrong here at all. All right, so let's before we start up, let's go and take a look underneath. So again, 2 pickup rollers. This has a small footprint, so you got to be really careful. I'm surprised they didn't put like 4 pickup rollers here, like put 2 in the middle here, but it is what it is. You got your switch here for program run, get your Bluetooth switch, and then you have your smoke on and off switch right here. Here's your speaker right here. Again, you're right. Normally like in steam engines, the speaker is in the tender. Well, it's actually under the engine itself. Now, it can get a little muffled because it's under there, or sound a little bit tinny, but it's actually not bad at all for what it is. The sound in general on this thing is actually fairly loud. All the sounds are. All right, so before we start it up, I just wanted to quickly show you the size difference between a scale Northern and the little 060T tank engine. So, yeah, substantially smaller. But again, you know, it is technically scale size. It's just, you know, these two steam engines have entirely different jobs on the railroad. All right, so I went ahead and I shut the crossing flashers off so they're not bothering anybody. So having those things on while I do this, I know bothers me a little bit, and I'm sure it bothers the watchers as well. And I don't want to make it worse for anybody. So let's go ahead and start this up now. This doesn't have a startup sequence like legacy engines do, so they just kind of like power right on. So let me address it. Headlight comes on. Make sure the smoke is turned on. Alright, so here's the kind of like dispatch.
Yard master, all handbrakes are knocked off. Can I roll? Over. Hold for my clearance. Tower out.
Here's the radio sequence.
This is good. Ready to pull. These long waits are brutal. At least the back kid keeps the coffee on. Gonna be running on long if we don't move on soon.
This thing smokes really, really well, I can tell you. Alright, so a couple of little features you can do on the TMCC remote. There's like a blowdown effect. Add water to the tender, or the back of the engine, so to speak. So that was the sound of coal loading into the little coal bin back there. Let's go over the whistle. So again, this is the default whistle. And to change it, at least on the cab remote, you just hit aux 1 and then click the whistle again. That is a super high banshee whistle there. Alright, take the bell out. So, as you can see, you can kind of mess with the bell and pick the one that you like. So you can turn the smoke on, you can turn the smoke off. You can turn up the volume and down the volume. That's right. Let's check the whistle again. So for the little speaker that's in there, it does a pretty good job. Like I said, there's a little bit of a tinniness to it, but it's not actually that bad at all. Not really a complaint. I don't want to seem like I'm complaining. I'm not. It actually does sound pretty good for, you know, for the small little unit that's in there. All right, so I wanted to go over really quickly what the major issue was with this little steam engine, and it had to do with the gearing and the bore hole that was holding the rods onto the drivers. And for some reason, I guess they used a larger hole, like bore hole, onto the rod itself, which gave a little bit of a slippage. And what happens to some of them, it's not all of them, but what happens to some of them, they just have like a really, you start them up and they kind of jerk around at slow speeds. There's sometimes a like a pause. Like when I went to my hobby shop, they brought he had one already open and he put it on the track, and it ran just not well at all. It was jerking, it was pausing, like at the 4th chuff revolution, it was pausing. You know, not something that I really liked at all. So we brought a different one down. It was I think it was a Brooklyn one or a Bethlehem Steel, and that run ran fine. And then he pulled another Santa Fe out of the back, and that one worked perfectly fine. And that's the one that I brought home. So So again, if you are going to purchase one of these, and if you can go into your hobby shop and have them run it first, just to make sure, I would 100% advise that. If you want more information on that, if you go on the OGR forums, there's a huge thread on this very topic. You can just do a search for like, 060T, jerkiness or something like that, and there's a lot of responses to it. All right, so let's get some cars coupled to this, and we'll run around layout. Alrighty, she is ready to go. Today we're going to pull in just a Santa Fe piggyback trailer and my Vision Lion cattle cars. So you're going to be hearing some cows mooing and some freight sounds and stuff like that. So let's take her out. Alright folks, that wraps up this little quick review of this little 060T tank engine from Lionel. Again, it's a LionChief Plus 2.0 model. And again, right now, I cannot recommend these enough for starter level, for intermediate level, and for people with legacy engines who want just a little, switcher engine running around their layout. This thing has so much value to it. I might even think about picking up a set, getting another one with one of the sets, because I just feel that these are just such a great value, especially nowadays in this hobby. Things can be kind of expensive, and that's a huge stepping stone, and that's a huge roadblock for some people to get into this hobby. This thing gives you so many ways to run it, and for a great entry price, smoke, command control, all kinds of sounds on this thing. Totally worth it. So again folks, thanks for watching West Chicago Model Railroad. If you could, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like that video if you like it, and please leave a comment. I'm always open to all comments of any kind. If I said something or pronounced something wrong, please let me know. If you have any questions about this engine or any of the other engines or cars that you saw today on the review, let me know. be happy to answer any questions. So again, folks, thanks for watching, and have a wonderful night.